Tara, I need some music. I need you too. It's a beautiful day. Music. Come on.
Oh, nice.
I didn't tell you that. Oh.
You didn't share all your secrets until the call.
I'm sorry.
How are you?
Very good.
Good. Awesome. So guys, I'm super excited, as you know, and I'm honored to have Mike McCann take time out of his super busy day to share with us all his secrets and his tactics on how to survive in this crazy market, right? So
yes.
I think Mike McCann does not need an introduction. You guys would agree. Everybody knows Mike McCann, right? Super pumped. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so the topic we're going to learn today is how to get your offers accepted in our current crazy marketplace, which everybody knows is extremely difficult, right? So the first topic, there's an agenda posted that was sent to everybody and posted, so you guys can check that out and follow along if you like. The first section that we have is to have your mortgage ready. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Terri Parker. I am a regional vice president with Cross Country Mortgage. I've been in the mortgage industry for about 27 years, which definitely shows my age. And if you know me, you know that I am obsessed and absolutely love what I do. So, you know, make sure everybody's muted. Okay. So, all right. So first thing is be mortgage ready. So what I mean by that is, guys, at Cross Country Mortgage, we do a fast track approval. So if you have a borrower that or a client that needs to get an offer accepted, it will make a tremendous difference if your client is fully approved. So that's not a pre-approval. That means that they're fully qualified and approved, and we can have that done for you in 24 hours or less. I feel like that's a big impact in this market. Also, make sure that you're working with a lender that not only works well with you, but also has an excellent reputation. I also think it's super important when a listing agent is receiving an offer to receive it from a lender that has a good reputation. I personally think that's super important. We're going to touch on some other tactics in a little bit about things that we're seeing that may help you. One of the things that we do here at Cross Country Mortgage is when an offer goes out to your seller, we proactively ask you guys to share us on that offer, and we proactively reach out to the listing agent and validate that offer. We tell them everything that we can do within the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, right, Mike? You know, obviously you do that for your team as well. We find that to be super valuable because of so many offers and competing against cash and all kinds of crazy things is, you know, essentially here we can get a deal done in 21 days, which, you know, Rick and Margie and other people on the Zoom meeting today know that we can do that. The other thing is understanding your buyer's power. So let me explain to you what I mean by that. You have a client that's qualified for, let's say, $300,000. And now you're in a bidding war and you have to increase your offer for the client to get that house. Now you find yourself in a 325 or a 350 offer, and it happens like this, right? You're like, you know, you're going super duper fast, and you know, you're doing everything to get that buyer the house because they can already see the barbecue going on in the backyard, right? What is missed is a lot of times you guys are not reaching out to your mortgage partner and saying, does this buyer qualify for this amount? So I think it's super important to know your buyers, not only their qualification, you know, point, but also what their monthly payment comfortability level is. I think communicating with your client, not doing the mortgage person's job, obviously, but communicating with your client is super important in that regard. And then also, you know, working together. So speak to your listing agent, which Mike's going to touch on, and understand what is the seller trying to accomplish. Is the seller a place to go? You know, things of that nature I think are super important, is communicating with the listing agent of what hurdles you have to overcome. And then of course, you know, which we'll again talk about in a few minutes, but you know, sometimes you add co-signers because you have to go higher on that offer to get that house that the customer wants. And it's important to understand that the co-signer is not making that payment for that buyer, right? That husband and wife, if mom is co-signing, that husband and wife are still making that payment on their own. So just kind of keep that in mind when things happen really quickly and you end up in a level or an amount much higher than their comfortability zone, right? So just a couple keynotes I want to talk about mortgage. I don't want to bore you about that because I want to focus on the man of the hour here. So Mike, I had some questions for you because being in the industry for all these years, I was watching something on CNBC and this agent was talking about escalation clauses. And I was like, oh, wow, like honestly, with all the years of experience, I didn't really understand what that meant and how that worked. Can you explain to us like what an escalation clause is and how that works and all that kind of good stuff as far as that goes?
Sure. Escalation clause, it's very common right now. And basically, there's a standard addendum, and you just put on there that your buyer will pay $2,000 or $1,000 or $500 more than any competing offer up until X amount. So, for example, just say it's a $300,000 property, and your buyer offers $300,000. You could put an escalation clause. They'll be willing to pay up to $320,000. They'll be willing to pay $2,000 more than the highest bid up to $320,000. So when that agent is, say there's multiple offers, when that agent's presenting that offer to the sellers, and there's a 305 offer, the seller then can consider your offer a 307 offer. And if they agree to go with your offer, they should send you the first page whiting out the names of that highest offer, so you can document that there was a 305 offer, and then you revise your agreement and you put a 307 offer. So it's one way. It's funny. Sometimes I'm a listing agent mostly, so sometimes I'll be like, there's like 4 offers on it. 3 of them have escalation clauses. I'm not taking any escalation clauses. Give me your highest and best price, terms, and conditions. Because remember, I'm jumping around, Tara. In presenting offers, it's not always price. It's price, terms, conditions, and a couple other things. And I'd love to talk to you more about a few of those things if Terry allows me. But that's what an escalation clause, very common in our marketplace right now in these competitive environments.
So Mike, when you're presenting that to the seller, because I like the agents, like we have buyer's agents on the phone, on the Zoom, we have listing agents on the Zoom. So I like them to always see like the other side if they haven't, like, some agents haven't ever had a listing, for example, right? So you're presenting that to the seller and the seller's saying, okay, obviously, usually they would have a number in mind in a normal market of what they want to sell the house for. Now they're kind of like, well, get me as much as I can get, right? So when you're presenting that to them, like, what is their risk in taking that? Like, is there any risk, in this, like, how does the seller look at that? I guess I want to know. Like, as
of course, when you're presenting that offer, if there's, hold on one second, people are making just too much noise here, and I'm gonna. Sorry, I'm behind a closed door and it's too noisy. So yeah, again, there's in this environment, there's always a case where the appraisal won't come in at value. Now, again, depends on the market. There's some markets where they're saying, I'm willing to, if the property appraises at 300 and we're paying 307, I'm willing to cover that gap.
Okay.
If we don't have that and it's still a 90% mortgage contingency or an 80% or an FHA, or I always let my sellers know there's a chance that it won't appraise. However, I know this lender. I know who their appraisers are. That makes a big impact. What Terry talked about earlier is, so if the agent says, I said, where'd they get that lender from? Well, they got it from the internet or was their friend's uncle. Versus, oh, this is a lender who I use all the time. It's Terry. She's freaking awesome. She gets deals done for me. I know who the appraiser. Big difference. That's what I want to hear as a listing agent. But so that's the risk. When I'm evaluating over asking price offers, and I'm telling a seller they could take it, I say it's not, they're like, yeah, that's great. I say it's not done because it has to appraise for that value. Now I'm going to take the call from that appraiser. I'm going to provide them comps. I'm going to smooth with that appraiser. I'm going to work them. And because of this lender, I'll probably know him. And so that's helpful.
So Mike, speaking of which, so now you're a listing agent, and I don't want to get off our itinerary here, but you made me think of something. So you're the listing agent and you're going to go prepare this listing. Obviously you did a CMA and you kind of have a good idea what the comps are in the area and you know what the house is going to sell for. Do you coach the seller on, hey, we have a, escalation clause up to this, but pulling my comps, it looks like the house is only going to appraise for that. Obviously a good listing agent would explain that to the seller, of course, right?
The crazy thing is, no two comps. Listen, I've been doing this long enough to know you never know what the place is going to sell for, and no two comps are alike. No two properties are alike. Times are changing. So, an appraiser could be 10, 15% either way, high or low, and not be wrong. It depends what ones you cherry pick from. Even when there's no help, there's no comps. And I'm in Center City, in South Philly, and a lot of times I'm selling properties. There's no real comps. So there really aren't any comps, and especially in a growing market, it's changing so fast. So there a lot of times there aren't comps. So again, it's all about relationships in our business. When the appraiser contacts me, I say, yes, this is crazy. 3 bids, it's sold right away. You shouldn't have a problem. I'm not even going to hand feed him the comps. I'm just going to say that to him. I'm say, if you have a problem with value, please let me know. Most of them will. If Mike, I'm struggling. So even though they're not supposed to do that, if you have relationships with people, and when the appraiser contacts, when a deal goes pending, I make it, no one can get in there without my approval. Appraiser reaches out to me. I'll pick up the phone, call him. Hey, you can get in there tomorrow. I had multiple bids, great property, sold right away. You shouldn't have a problem. If any problem, let me know. I'm not going to act like I'm scared and nervous. It's not going to appraise. I also do get it as a listing agent. If you sell my property over asking price, I do get an addendum from the seller increasing the price. So before I mark it pending, if we sold it for 307, I'm going to increase the price for 307 for a day. Then I'm going to mark it pending. People say you shouldn't do that, or it doesn't. Appraisers have told me it does make it easier versus they don't have to justify why it's sold over asking. They can obviously see it, but I get the approval. I change the price. And it lets the market know a pending deal went higher than the asking price, so I increased the price. So it's just what I do. People can argue plus or minus.
I had a call with my team this morning before the Zoom, and I was like, hey guys, let's go over the itinerary. Let's make sure I don't miss anything, things like that. And I think this is a perfect example. So I want to make sure everybody just understood what you said. And I also want to make sure that I understood what you said. So I'm going to break it down a little bit. So you're saying house is listed for, let's say 300, escalation clause to 307. You get an offer to 307. The minute that you get that offer, you're increasing the price that you have that property listed to for 307 so everybody can see. And now if someone comes in with a higher offer, when you increase that listing to 307, you would entertain that offer?
No. It's once it's signed up at 307.
Okay.
I have the deal worked out. It's signed up. Instead of me just marking it pending at that listing price 305, I'm going to change the price to 307.
Got it.
With the seller's approval. I'll do an addendum, and then the seller says okay, and then I'm going to mark it pending. So it's not to get more, or it's just to. I believe it makes the appraisal easier. Appraisers have told me that. Other people will argue it doesn't, but it just, so when the appraiser gets the order, he sees it was listed at 307, it's pending at 307. Yes, he can look at the fine print. We're getting into the weeds right now. It's just what I do because he can look at the fine print and see that it was changed. And I'm like, yes, of course it was changed because I have multiple bids. It sold for 307. They won't even ask. It makes his job easier, I believe. And it just tells the people, because this market is changing month by month. So if I listed it for the next person going out on a listing in that area could see, they don't see that it's pending at 300 when it's really sold at 307. They can see it's pending at 307 now. So it just keeps that market currently updated. So that's the one thing I do.
Everybody is supposed to have attention to detail, right? So the appraisers and the mortgage people and the realtors, we're all supposed to have attention to detail. But again, in this market, everybody's so busy that I see your point. The appraiser may or may not dig, but chances are, they're probably not going to dig, and they're going to look at the 307 and they're going to see that that's the value that was dictated, and they're going to do that appraisal based on that. So it's perception. So I think that's a really good tactic, honestly. The other thing I want to talk to you about is Jersey and PA vary, right? For those of you that don't know, on the Zoom. And what I mean by that is in New Jersey, there's a 3-day rescission, right to cancel, period, attorney review essentially, right? So in the 3-day attorney review in New Jersey, even though you have somebody under contract, you can get another offer in that time. So Mike, I guess, can you break down like a best and final, and how that would work? Like I know Jersey and PA are a little bit different there, but can you kind of explain that a little bit, like what you're saying as far as that goes?
I'm not licensed in Jersey. I have a couple agents on my team that do that. So I'm not going to get into Jersey. I'm glad I don't have a 3-day right of refusal. When I sold vacuums door to door, there was a 3-day right of refusal. I'd close the deal. The next morning, I'd be getting a phone call that they canceled. Man, that would devastate me. So in PA, there's no 3-day right of refusal. And so I really can't answer that, Tara. I don't want to go there. It's not my license.
All right. So once you get an offer in PA and you're signing, sealed to deliver, that contract is it, and you're good to go.
Yeah, of course, you got to get that deposit. So the next day we send out wiring instructions here. Usually get the deposit in a day or two. And then normally there's 10 days for the inspection period, and 30 or so days for the mortgage contingency. I just, again, I don't want to go out of your agenda, but I want to say a couple of things. Because I wanted to talk about how to win an offer today. Is it okay to talk about that now, Terry?
That's what I want to hear. That Mike can't stop.
Okay. Because it's funny how this industry changes, and the market that we're in now won't last forever. People will think it's going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. But the market we're in now, whether it's $200 or $2 million properties in most neighborhoods, there's multiple bids, there's limited inventory. They're saying right now there's more realtors in the country than there are homes for sale. There's under 3 million homes for sale in the country. Normally, we're carrying 5 to 6 million. So you're seeing, crazy bidding wars. So the topics have changed now on how to win. Like that's all we're talking about at our office and our team meetings is how to win these bids. So first of all, even if a buyer comes to you with another lender, I went online and got pre-approved. I always get them in touch with my lenders. I am a Terri fan. Terri is a female Mike McCann. We always joke because she's a friggin' workaholic. She's committed. She loves client relation. Reputation is everything. Family is everything. So she has all the DNA in the mortgage industry that I have in the real estate industry. So I do want to say that. And she does a lot of business with us and a lot of business with my team, and everybody loves her. And they don't love her because she's nice and she's pretty and all that. They love her because she's a machine and she gets things done. And when we use her, our financing, I don't have to worry about it. It's her problem. I'm a great real estate guy. I'm not a finance guy. I don't want to have to be the middleman and dealing with all this stuff and they're not calling them back. I know when I turn them over to her, they're going to carry that weight so I can sell another piece of real estate. Yes, they'll keep me informed if there's something I need to help out with, but they're going to carry that weight. So important. So when we're presenting offers, we're saying, this is someone we use. And we'll even say to our buyers, I know your uncle's going to get you the mortgage, but please use our mortgage person to get pre-approved. That way, when I present offers, I can let them know it's a lender who I use. You don't have to use them. And I do like what Terri said earlier. If you're going to be working that buyer, they don't buy in the first place you look at and get pre-approved. Have them do the whole process so that when you submit that offer, you can say, this is not a pre-approval letter. We have a mortgage commitment subject to a property. So Terri will do that. So when we're preparing offers right now, we're putting the first deposit up front, like the full deposit instead of in PA, it's 1,000 now and 5% within 2 days after the inspection or whatever that second deposit is. We just put the money up front because you have 10 days for an inspection anyway. We're also asking the seller can choose when the settlement date is, if that can apply for our client. Let the seller pick when the settlement date is. Whether it's 30 or 90 or whatever date that is. Another thing we're offering is if the seller needs a week or 2 or 3 or a month, they can stay in the house. They can pay us our per day cost, but they can stay in the house. There's an addendum you can use that allows that. Really stress-free. I've had sellers take offers $5,000 less because that agent told me that they could stay in the house. So my seller, don't have to move and sell in the same day, which is very stressful. So it reduces that stress. So the rent back has been really good, and there's a standard addendum that can cover all that documentation for you. So when I get an offer and it comes from an agent and they just forward it to me, that's one thing. When I get an offer from an agent that has a summary, hey, Mike, I worked really hard to get you this offer. Here it is. It's Bill and Mary Smith, $300,000, $20,000 deposit up front, 10-day inspection, 90% mortgage, pre-approved with Terri, lender I use all the time, 10 days for the home inspection, but they'll waive the first $2,000, settlement when the seller wants, and it's a summary. That's music for my ears in this busy world. I know that agent is on the ball, and then they'll follow it up with a phone call. So I get that email summary. Versus I'm getting all these offers. When I have a summary, it's easy. It makes it really good. And then people are putting these love letters. There's mixed messages. The buyer's sending these love letters. Some people are saying it could be discriminatory practices. Some people are saying, so that was all the trend. Now it's like, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. Love letters, that's up to you. That's totally up to you. But I am seeing that also. But a summary with the strong points. In our business, the relationships are what make us successful. So when I see, and if I don't know an agent, I can tell if they're a good agent or a bad agent the way that offer is presented. So, and how that agent communicates. If I get an offer, I email or text that agent back or call them, they don't get back to me for 8 hours, I'm worried. You know what I mean? If I text that agent, they call me right back, yes, and they work with me. In this business, the key to success is cooperation and working with each other. Because if we work with each other, that's better for our clients. And if it was better for our clients, is a win-win for us. So communication, documentation, and telling your story. So we have standard letters that we have on my team with my buyer's agents that say, hey, Bill and Bill, I worked really hard on this offer, blah, 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 a little bit story, and then the summary of the offer, and then, email me, call me, text me, whatever you want. So that's it.
So, Mike, two questions for you real quick. One is, obviously, are you looking at that summary and deciding as the listing agent what to share with the seller, just your personal opinion, or are you sharing everything with them about every offer that you have?
Oh, no, I am forwarding that whole mess. So I'll forward that message, the summary, the offer with my input to my seller. So I'll review it, I'll look at it, and then I'll forward it to myself. Hey, I just received this offer from Joe. Here's the summary. I'll throw in some comments. I know this agent, they're great, or whatever I want to say. Give me a call later on. So I'll send it to them before I even call them, so they have a time to look at it and then digest it, and then I'll talk to them. So yes, so I'm sending everything. I'm not selectively. I don't know how everyone else does it, but I send everything.
Well, we want your opinion because obviously, you're the man and all, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're top producer. So we want your opinion, of course. But
I think most agents send everything. And to me, listen, sometimes we're struggling. I'll say, okay, you told me all this stuff on the phone. I need you to send that to me in an email because I'm going to share that with my seller because I don't want to miss anything that you just told me. Because remember, sellers, people can only retain 10 or 20% of what you say. So it's always great to follow it up with email. A lot of times I might be talking to a seller after I send a summary and we're talking, blah, blah, blah. And then after we hang up, as soon as I have a few minutes, I'll summarize that and say, and summarize what we discussed because people only retain 10 or 20% of what you say. Or also you might think you're communicating one thing to them and you're telling them because you know what you're saying, but they don't understand it because they're not in the real estate business. So a summary by email or text, however you're communicating with them, is really, really good thing to do. And plus, the document.
A template for an agent to have a summary with every offer sounds like a great idea. And what I heard you say is that your team has a template that when they submit an offer, there's a transparency to the seller of what that offer looks like, basically. So, guys, that's
Absolutely.
a big recommendation. If you guys didn't write that down, for all the agents on the Zoom, I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great tactic. And I will recommend that to our agents because I can tell you just from seeing it from a mortgage lender side, we're not seeing that. We're seeing like letters of the heart or we're seeing, we're saying, hey, we're gonna waive the inspections, but we're not seeing like a package deal. So it sounds like a great idea for my marketing department actually to create a summary that we can pass on to our agents with bullet points to present better offers. I think that's definitely gonna help us get more offers accepted for sure. The other thing that you touched on was, we kind of touched on a little bit, was waiving the appraisal. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit because I don't think people understand that with a lot of lenders, with a lot of offers, you're waiving the appraisal and you're saying, hey, if it doesn't appraise for my, my contract price, I'm still okay up to X. I'm still going to pay that difference, right? They're also waiving, obviously, the repairs. So if the appraiser, comes back with repairs, okay? So the common misconception between an FHA appraisal and a conventional appraisal. The main difference that we see as a lender between an FHA appraisal and a conventional appraisal is really just scraping and painting. So now let's assume, for argument's sake, you're in a waive appraisal contract, you're in a waive repair contract, and now you have an appraisal that comes back with repairs. What do? Right? So, Mike, I'm going to ask you a question in a second, but I want to just give a nugget from a lender side. We are one of the very few lenders that will let you close without doing a renovation loan and the buyer making the repairs after closing. So I just want to repeat that. So now you get a deal. The best offer is, let's just say FHA. Let's go crazy and say the best offer is the FHA offer. And now you're like, hey, I got an FHA offer and I have a waived appraisal, waived repairs, waived inspections, waived everything. And now the appraisal comes back with repairs. So your choices are either A, the buyer make the repairs when they technically don't own the property, which could make people uncomfortable and puts a lot of risk out there, right? Or B, choose a lender like us that will allow the buyer to make the repairs after closing, okay? And it's not a renovation loan, it's a regular loan. You can do it on FHA and conventional, okay? The only time you run into issues if it's safety and hazard type of problems, like a shed that's gonna cave in on your child or something like that. So, Mike, I wanted to point that out because I'm sure that that's something that you're seeing often as far as like people waiving the repairs and things of that nature, correct?
Yeah, well, first of all, Tara, I've never heard of that on an FHA where you'll close. So that would be music to my ears. So if someone on here bought me an offer with your pre-approval or mortgage commitment, FHA, and said, and by the way, any miscellaneous repairs the buyer's going to accept and will do after closing, I'd be like, oh my God, yeah, that's unbelievable. I'm seeing where they're bringing contractors through to look at the property. It depends on the competency, the level, and the support of the person that's buying that property. If I had a good friend of mine, I could walk through that property, being in the business so long, and say that heater's 40 years old, I can see everything but the roof and tell them. But if I have some first time, I want to stereotype, millennial buyer who never did any handiwork, I'd be scared, to do that. Nothing, I love the millennials, nothing against them. I'm just saying just joking, but like somebody who wants to just doesn't have the capabilities. But I would say, let me bring my contractor through. They say, it's the only way I'm going to get it. So you really have to be careful. I would have them sign something that they were given the opportunity to do an inspection and they chose not to, because everything's fine until it's not. Same thing with repairs, disclosure. No deal is worth a violation or losing your license. You disclose everything. I remember I walked away from a $12,000 commission at the settlement table because it was FHA, and then the seller and the buyer had gotten together and they were doing a silent second mortgage. I said, I'm not going to be parties to that, people, blah, blah. I actually walked away. I said, sign a release. I am out of this deal. And everything would have been fine. But guess what? It was fraud. So you don't risk your license for any one deal. You have a whole life of livelihood. So you disclose. So
you touched on something huge, which is, you touched on it earlier and you're touching on it again, which is reputation. Like, I think a lot of people think this is going to last forever, like you said, especially newer. I find newer mortgage reps and newer real estate agents that are newer in the market, they haven't seen anything before this. So they think it's like the normal. And, quite honestly, some people are doing some crappy things. Like, they're saying, oh, we're only, the seller's only accepting conventional offers. I really want my buyer that only qualifies for FHA to submit a, pre-approval conventional, even though we know it's a lie, right? And what I keep telling my mortgage reps is that's going to come back and bite you later, because obviously there's certain disclosures that have to get out to the seller and stuff like that. So I think people forget that, when this is over, their reputation is still going to be standing with them, good or bad. So I want to give you, right?
Yes, and Tara, but especially with something like you is it's FHA, but if there are miscellaneous repairs, the buyer's going to accept those, and this company will close without them. So what's so you always have to tell your story. You do have to tell your story. Real estate is an emotional business. It's a business, but it's an residential. It's an emotional business. So you always want to tell your story to the buyer, to understand the buyer, and then to the agent. People ask me why my longevity, 34 years, longer than you, 27, Terri, but you started at 2. I started at 28. But is my reputation is not when an agent gets an offer from me, they know it's going to closing. When an agent brings me an offer and I get it closed, they know I'm going to work on it to close it. They know I'm not going to lose it over the inspections, because no one battles in a positive win-win way for everyone. And you think you have to think big picture, and you have to cooperate. I'll get offers, and I'll have 6 offers. And guess what? The agent that has the better reputation, better for communicating, is going to get priority. I'm going to present them all. I'm going to narrow that down. And if it's real close, we're going to go, I'm going to give my seller direction. And I'm going to say, you know what? This one's $1,000 less than this one, but I like the offer that's $1,000 less. Is it okay with you if I call that agent and ask them if they'd give us $1,000 more? So I'm going to actually prioritize, because that agent's better to work with. There's nothing wrong with that, because I'm not going to get into bed with somebody that I know that in 6 days they're going to be coming back with $25,000 in home inspection repairs or stuff like that. So reputation, communication, and telling the story is so important in our business.
Yeah. So I wanted to give you guys 2 nuggets to piggyback to Mike, right? So I'm getting listing agents and selling agents asking us for all kinds of insane things. They're asking for the buyer's bank statements to show what the assets are between what the house appraises for versus the offer. So they're saying, hey, I want to see your customer's bank statements. And then the customers are like, well, I don't really want to show this seller, that I go to Starbucks or Target every Wednesday or whatever, right? So if you have a seller that wants to verify assets for a buyer, which is extreme, but that's the market that we're in, is an extreme market, right? You can ask the lender to provide you what's called a verification of deposit. And what that is just a form that merely just says what the borrower has in their bank account as a balance. It doesn't show any of their transaction history whatsoever. It just shows their balance. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, if someone is giving you a pre-approval conventional and you have a gut feeling that they only qualify for, for FHA only, with FHA, you can do a written approval. You can do an actual handwritten approval, like old school, like back when me and Mike were, in the business. Everything was done with a piece of paper and a pen.
Business.
But now everything is done with a computer. So my point is that with conventional, you can say, hey, I want the first page of the actual DU or desktop approval. So Mike, what I wanted to make sure we cover on this, Joseph, what I want to make sure we cover on this, which is the most important thing that I wanted to ask you, because it's one of the number 1 thing agents are asking me right now, is what is the misconceptions, or how do you feel about agents offering less commissions when they submit an offer to you? I know we talked about that, but I want them to hear that.
Well, that is their choice. It's not illegal. It's not dishonest. That is allowed. That is their choice. You can choose to do that. Listen, if you, I'm not going to lose a deal over a small amount. So there's 2 schools of thought. There's my value, am I worth that? And if I discount, it's not the first thing that I would do. This is how I would deal with it. It's not the first thing that I would do. if that difference between making a deal and not making a deal is me eating a half a point or a point, and I love these clients because I do think big term, I will eat as this on the listing side. I will eat stuff. We're trying to close a gap on an inspection, and we're $2,000 apart or something. I'll say, listen, I'll eat 1,000, you eat 1,000. Let's get this done. Think big picture. I will do that. I would not put that offer in. I would just try to say to the agent that you're presenting the offer that, do me, if you can, I would appreciate it, is just don't tell me that the property's been sold to someone else. Give me the last chance. Give me the last opportunity. And if my buyer isn't going to, they're maxed out, and I see by me contributing is going to close the deal because the agent gave me a last opportunity, which is not dishonest or unethical, I would eat something to make it work. I'm a win-winner. If I get 3% or I get 2.5%, or if I get 2.5% or I get 2%, at the end of the day, if I make my clients happy, I'm going to get so much more business. Plus, I'm going to make them happy. And, so there's a school. I have some agents that won't contribute anything. I'm a lover. I'm a deal maker. I don't sweat any one transaction. I'm a win-win or go home. I want everybody to be happy. But the first move is not to throw in money. Just like when I'm getting a listing and they say, well, will you take 5%? I say, listen, I'm a full service broker. I'm not going to discount your commission. We're a 6% broker. We give 3 to the other agent. I keep 3, so my first response isn't, if the difference between me getting that listing and not getting the listing ends up being the commission, I will kick it in a lot of the times.
I guess what I'm seeing, Mike, is that, okay, so now you're in an offer situation and you're a little bit nervous about the appraisal. I'm the buyer's agent, let's just say. I'm a little bit nervous about the appraisal. I did my CMA. My buyers don't have the extra cash if it's not going to appraise. So I would then say to you, hey, listen, if it doesn't appraise, I'm willing to do it for 1% and take my difference as a buyer's agent and kick it into the seller to cover that gap for the appraisal. Are you seeing that? Like, are you seeing agents really do those types of things that, do what it takes, I guess, to get it accepted?
I've not seen it in that category. I have seen probably 2 times in the last 2 weeks where an agent has said, I will take less on the commission. And I've had people saying to me, well, isn't that illegal? Isn't that? And, I looked into it. It's not illegal. They're allowed to do that. The seller's going to consider what's is best net for them. I've not seen it where if the appraisals, listen, if the buyer doesn't have the money to cover a gap on an appraisal, they can't do that contingency. Now, it's funny, people have these appraisal contingencies, and we say, well, I'm not taking an appraisal contingency. That's fine. If they're taking a mortgage contingency, that's a 90%, and it underappraises, that's the same thing as an appraisal contingency. Like people don't realize that. I'll be like, no problem. We don't need an appraisal contingency because I know that, or if it's an 80% loan, I know, or if it's an FHA, if it doesn't appraise the value, they're not getting that loan amount that's in the mortgage contingency. So it really is appraisal contingency. So
I don't think a lot of people get that, though. I don't think a lot of agents on here actually really understand that. That's why I wanted to touch on that so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to touch on, which is another, big nugget that I hope to wow you guys with, is everybody knows that, rates are going up and down. And then the minute that I say that they're not going down anymore, you need to buy now, they go down again. And I'm like, what the heck is going on, right? Like, it's just like a roller coaster ride. And what I was talking to one of my coaches, and they said, interest rates don't dictate the market. Interest rates only dictate the amount that buyer's buying power is going to be for. So think about that, right? So then I thought, okay, that's interesting. So at that moment, Cross Country bought back, which I don't think any agent on this Zoom knows, a program called Lock and Shop. So let me give you an example. With a normal mortgage lender or a normal market, you have to be under contract and have a specific property address to lock your rate, right? So you're nervous. You know that if rates go up, you're not going to qualify for, let's say, 350 anymore. You know that you qualify for 350,000 at 2.99, but you know that if rates go up to 3.5, you now aren't going to qualify for that anymore. So what do, right? You don't want to now start pulling new houses to show them and start being like, oh, I know you like these really nice houses, but now their rates went up. Now I'm going to show you these not so nice houses, right? And then most of the time what they're going to do is fire their agent, because what are they going to do? They're going to blame us, right? So we rolled out a thing called Lock and Shop, where if you know that your buyer is going to buy within 90 days, which I know it's, when none of us are like, can predict the future here, right? But if you're pretty confident that your buyer is going to do that, you can lock them on a to be determined interest rate. So you can say, I want to lock them in at 2.99 because I don't want to take them out for 3 months and show them houses at 350. Rates go up, they now qualify for 300. So I don't know if a lot of agents know that some lenders actually have that, so that you don't have to retract if rates go up in a volatile market and now start showing them houses that are completely different, because $50,000 in buying power could be a completely different house, right? So I think that's a big niche for us as well, to get people to feel more comfortable. And then of course, Mike, I wanted to know, I know we got about 9 minutes left. I wanted to let you, take the floor. I know we talked about, contracts and, all these different types of things, but I wanted to see you as the leader of our real estate community, being like the man that you are. What final nuggets can you give these awesome agents on the phone with various experience that'll help them get any additional offers accepted?
First of all, to me, real estate is the greatest business in the history of the world. It's no one can control how much you can make or not make. Times change and go up and down. Never, never, never give up. Patient persistence overcomes resistance. It's funny. I have this thing since, let me see if you can see it here. So I have this flyer that my team made for me. Hold on. If you can read this. I don't know if you can. Can you see that, Tara?
Yeah.
Okay. Never, never, never give up. Patient persistence overcomes resistance. Can't means won't. Under promise and over deliver. If you can believe, you can achieve, because the harder you work, the luckier you get. So that's the first thing I want to say. If that's a poster, they all signed it for me right here. Just because they're my mechanisms. So if you just can't get discouraged. So it's a very tough time to be a buyer's agent in a low inventory market, multiple bids. So it's very tough. So all I have to say is just don't give up. It's the greatest business in the history of the world. For a purpose, we're an important part of people's lives. We play a very big role. It's very rewarding. I have people that rely on me for a lot of things for my real estate relationship. So just keep plugging away. Develop the best relations. The 3 things I would tell people, especially new in real estate or even experienced, would be develop the best relationship in the marketplace, both with clients and with agents. Become the most educated, meaning continue to educate yourself like you're on here right now. Just learn more. And then cooperate, win-win for everyone. And those are the 3 things and then work hard and smart. So the harder you work hard, the best reputation, and become the most knowledgeable. Those are the 3 things. So that gets me a lot of deals. When we put offers in, we get prioritized. When agents that I have relationships come in, they get prioritized. And when I say prioritized, you can never do anything unethical in this business. You always do what's best for the customer and the client, and things will come back to you. Believe me, if a person goes to a certain price and it's just higher than what I think, I will let them know that. But also I'll analyze. I'm a person that paid top dollar for 3 of the 4 homes I've lived in my 35 years with my family. And the reality of it was I was going to be in there for 10 years. So it didn't matter, like at these, people say, oh, you're paying a crazy price. Yeah, but I'm getting a 3% loan. And that monthly payment is X. And I'm going to be in there for 10 years. Will the values go up in 10 years? Absolutely. No one ever said to me, you sold me that house too high, or you sold that house to me too low. So you have to believe in what you're doing. Tara, I like that lock-in for 90 days deal. That's friggin' awesome. Agents should know that. That's really, really awesome. And last thing is, I call myself an air traffic controller. I don't really do anything. I'm not a contractor. I'm not a mortgage person. I'm not an inspector. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney, but I control everything. The buyers come to me and I put them in touch with the best people in that industry that they need. My mortgage person, my home inspector, my stucco guy, my termite guy, my roofer, my painter, my stager. And when someone uses my vendors, they're like, "Oh, thank you, Mike. They're the best." So I've developed this core to help me in my real estate business, because it's not just selling the house. Like, that's the easiest part. It's conveying them through. And then the more knowledge you have, the more confidence you can bring. I am a confidence builder. So buyers are scared to death. I love first time buyers. There's a big segment, 15, 16 years, a big segment of my population was first time buyers. I became the expert at FHA, grant programs, minimum down payment, maximum financing. But these people were renting and they were scared to buy. A high percentage of single females. I mean, probably 35% of my buyers were single females that that didn't want to wait and just wanted to buy a house. I gave them the confidence. So that's rewarding. 5 years later, they're getting married or whatever. They call me to sell the house. Then they're going to buy another house together. And so anyway, so it's the greatest business in the world. It's 24/7 business, but you can do it from anywhere now with all this social media and internet and Zoom and DocuSign and Dotloop and all that stuff. So I know I'm rambling, Tara, but persistent, patient, and pick away at it. I might, okay, thanks a lot. And I might think about it, and then I might come back and say, let's try this. And I keep picking away. I never be like, well, that's the highest they're going to go. Or I never shut doors. I'll always find ways. Well, what's the real reason? Dig a little deeper.
Communicate, essentially. A lot of my agents recently are saying, oh, I told my buyers this isn't the time for them because it's a seller's market. I heard that 2 times yesterday, by the way. They're like, oh, I'm done with them. I told them this isn't the time for them. If they don't have money to meet the gap between the appraisal and the offer, this isn't the market for them. If they can't go higher, this is the market for them. So would you still concur that it's just as good as a buyer's market as a seller's market? Would you agree?
Yeah, you got to be kidding me. It's great. It's great. And guess what? I would, again, patient persistence. So maybe they didn't get this house. I wouldn't give up on them. I mean, I would not give up on them. And guess what? I would sell my daughter, my son, anybody a home today, even at the top price that they are today, because guess what? They will be higher 5 or 10 years from now. If they said, I'm moving out in 2 or 3 years, okay, maybe I won't. But these rates next year will not be this low. This bidding, so even if the market's not as crazy and the prices stay the same at a higher rate, it costs you more money. Listen, I've been through 34 years in the business, through 5 ups and downs, and over the long haul, you can't get hurt as long as you can afford that real estate today, and you do know what you're buying. So I would never send those buyers to us. We'll sell them.
Me too.
Yeah.
So guys, we have a long list of questions. What I'm going to do is Brittany, who did a great job, can't control spam, obviously, did a great job putting this together. So I'm super grateful for all her hard work. Just want to say thanks to Brittany. I'm going to put her in for a second. Thank you so much, Brittany, for doing a great job. We're going to email out all the questions that we got. I'm going to share them with Mike. We're going to send responses to everybody. So I apologize about the technical issues, but Mike, I'm so grateful. And I want to leave you with, Mike has already committed to doing another lunch and learn, which we're going to put together with better technology, obviously. And the topic, which I think you guys are going to love even more than this lunch and learn, is how he generates leads. So that lunch and learn is going to be, how does Mike and his team, how are they the top producers that they are? So everybody knows that starts with leads. So I'm super excited about that lunch and learn. Mike, thank you so much. I love you so much. And I'm gonna definitely
Thank you.
get that going. So thank you again, and I will get back to every question, I promise.
And have fun. Everybody got to have fun. Okay. Have a great day. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Mike.